Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking right side. He wants it. A comeback. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown! Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions. How about those Chiefs?
Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Corner here with Andrew and Dale. Today we're going to be recapping the Chiefs versus Jaguars game. It was a victory by the Chiefs with the final score of 27-17. So, Dale, how'd you feel about that game?
Man, I felt I was just it's kind of a slow, controlled game. I think from the get-go, the Chiefs had control of the game the whole time.
Yeah, it did seem that way for sure. So there's a lot about this game that kind of stood out to me. One big thing, and I'm sure we'll kind of get to it at some point at least, but let's just get into it now. Might as well.
Let's do it. Let's go.
The Juju Smith-Schuster hit. How do you pick up a flag on that play?
Not only that, how do you pick it up so fast?
Yeah. No, there's many ways you can, even if you don't want to call targeting, you can still call hit on a defensive player.
Yeah.
Because there's no way he could have prepared himself for that hit. And not only that, the same guy had a big hit on MVS just a few plays later.
Right.
Same guy. And I'm not saying the second play should have been a penalty, because after watching the replay, I'm like, okay, that one, I can let that one go. I get that one. But you don't think that because he got away with it once, that doesn't give him a little bit more motivation, like, oh, I can get away with it in this game.
Right. Yeah, they're going to let me hit. And so, that could have been – well, that's a super dangerous play anyway. I thought that was a big emphasis on the league, where a defensive player – and I know that's a rule. You can't hit a defensive player, defenseless player.
Yeah.
Yes, defenseless player. And he was not ready. He had not turned his head all the way fully. And that guy just – Cisco just laid into him. And it's just even with the whole Tua thing – and everything, it's just super scary to see guys. You don't want to see. I'm so glad the broadcast didn't show him stumbling around and things like that. Where I thought they did Tua wrong and his family, and the fact that they just kept showing his fingers. And I know you have to cover the game, but I'm so glad they didn't show Juju just stumbling around. And I know they did show him walking in the Chief, like the little. I don't know what you call that, but there's like those fans down there, and he was walking. So that was good. Yeah.
And to be clear, we don't want to see that happen to any player on any team.
No.
Even if it would have been a Chiefs player as a defensive guy, we don't want to see anybody get hurt and targeted in that kind of way. And I realize that Cisco probably wasn't intentionally trying to hurt him, but it's just a dangerous play that can really injure somebody for life doing something like that. So that's why I point that out. So it was from the very first play of the game, though. So get back to the beginning here. The Chiefs were caught off guard on special teams, and their special teams, for the most part, they were lacking, to say the least, yesterday. Had several key turnovers.
I think I think this has been a trend in our conversation, and special teams has let us down, whether it be Bucker being missing a few games and then our special team kickers. Even Bucker, since he's come back, I don't know if that ankle's 100%, and where he's missing extra points, which is unusual for him. He's one of the best kickers in the NFL, and so it's just super strange to see our special team make so many mistakes. I mean, we were fortunate we didn't lose one of those fumble recoveries in the end zone.
Yeah. That one I can see just listening to the broadcast, on that. Are you talking about on that punt that they?
Yeah, the punt where that player should have been nowhere near.
Well, you know why? But you know why he picked it up, right?
Why?
It's like because when the other team punts it, if they're the first person that touches it, even if the Chiefs pick it up, the other team cannot turn it over, even if they fumble it after that. And so it's kind of a smart play in a way because it bounced off of the Jaguars guy, and so even if a Chiefs player picks it up and fumbles it, it can't be a turnover because the Jaguars touched it first.
Right. How many of you, do you think that player knew that?
I would sure hope so. If not,
I didn't know that rule. I've been watching football for a long time, but I was like, that is,
I'll say if he didn't know that rule, then oh man,
Yeah.
then I have a lot more questions. But
Right.
in the very first play of the game, the Jaguars try an onside kick and successfully recover it.
Right.
And from that very first kick, the Chiefs defenders, I mean, I understand it's a trick play, you're trying to catch them off guard, but they kick it, and the guys run backwards 5 or 10 yards before they realize, oh, this kick is right in front of me. And they basically had no chance for the Chiefs to recover it because of how they started that. And as we've talked before, Dave Toub is one of the best, if not the best, special teams coach.
Yeah.
And he was lighting into those guys once they got to the sideline. And I was surprised they didn't show him on the broadcast more after some of those things, because he was not happy.
Oh, yeah, he gets fiery. And I think we got to give grace here. We're both pastors, so we'll give grace.
That's right.
In the fact that Dave Toub, his whole special teams lineup has been flipped. I think the only consistence is Bucker and Townsend. And so everybody else is new guys. And so I'm sure he's still coaching them. But I mean, we're week 10. Who would have known we were week 10 of the NFL? This season is just flying by. We got to get it together. And I know Dave Toub, I don't know him, but I know that he'll have the special teams going. And so let's hope they figure it out. I'm sure that's going to be a big emphasis in practice. I don't think you're supposed to leave the your line until you see where the ball's being kicked. So to your point.
Exactly.
But yeah.
So one guy we have to talk about though is our new wide receiver weapon here, Kadarius Toney, however you say it.
Toney. I think I've heard Toney. So
all right. Toney, what are we thinking about this guy?
Man, he is different, huh?
He is. He had his first NFL touchdown yesterday. And he's been in the league for a few years. I know he's battled injuries, but I mean, you're not going to get a more wide open touchdown than what he had.
That's funny because I was watching Good Morning Football this morning, and they said there was 20.4 yards of separation. The closest guy to him was 20 yards to him. And so actually that touchdown score scared me because I thought he hurt his hamstring because he was hopping, but he was trying to stay in bounds. So
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. And Brett Beach and Andy Reid here, just having depth on the wide receiving is so crucial. If Juju doesn't pass concussion protocol, which he is in concussion protocol, then look, we have another guy right there ready to go.
Yep. Yeah. And he, for only being here for 2 weeks, he had quite a huge impact on this game already.
Yeah.
So I was kind of more hesitant on him when we first got him, to be honest. I probably even said that on here. I said, man, I'm not sure I understand why. I mean, it's death, but I don't know. And now after watching him yesterday, if he continues to play in that kind of way, man, I'll sit here and say I was wrong about this guy, and I'm glad to be wrong. I'm always glad to be wrong in that way.
Yes, for sure. And so we'll see. I know we were both kind of disappointed with the trade deadline. We thinking they needed some more defensive help. But, man, credit our corners. They played well yesterday. I know, again, it's Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, I mean, maybe we shouldn't hang our hats on that too much, but I thought they played well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and speaking of the defense, remember the Jags coming into this game, they were only allowing 12 sacks per game. Or not per game, sorry, 12 sacks for the entire year so far. And the Chiefs, see if I can find it. I know they had at least 5 sacks, maybe more. Oh, here it is. Yeah, they had 5 sacks.
Wow.
And so for a team allowing,
make sure you get a Big Mac.
That's right. Big Mac sack here in the Kansas City and St. Joseph area. So
there you go.
Get yourself one today. But yeah, so coming into the game, Jags are only allowing 12 sacks a year, and the Chiefs put 5 on them in one game. So almost half of what they've allowed for the entire year, they allow in one game.
Right. So, and I saw on Twitter that Chris Jones had 4 QB pressures yesterday. And then George Karlaftis had 4 pressures as well. And so that's super encouraging for a rookie that would probably be hitting the rookie wall right about now. It's getting better. And so that's awesome. Yeah,
it is. And once again, Chris Jones for interior defensive lineman still has the highest win rate in the NFL. So Chris Jones is having himself a year. I mean, he might be playing his best football yet, and that's saying something because he's played some really good football.
Well, they got him off the defensive end.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, and so, oh man, yeah, last year that was ridiculous. Yeah, and remember too, the Chiefs got 5 sacks yesterday, and that is still including with Frank Clark being out.
Yeah, that's his 2 games, right? That's his 2-game suspension, so he'll be back with.
Yeah, so he'll be back next week, and hopefully,
there you go.
I'll say this, and we've mentioned this guy a lot on here, Carlos Dunlap. This guy has come to play. He's now has 100 sacks in his career. As they shared on the broadcast yesterday. And so that guy has been an underrated player coming into the season. And I don't know if you can say he's underrated anymore because he keeps showing up and keeps making plays.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. But so get this or some other good stats for you. So the Jags defense was allowing a total of 343 yards per game, and the Chiefs put 486 on them. They were allowing 238 passing yards a game, and the Chiefs and Mr. Patrick Mahomes, MVP front runner, MVP favorite, in my opinion, put up 331.
I want to talk about that here in a little bit, but yeah.
And then and the Jags defense was number 7 in the league, only allowing 105 yards per game. The Chiefs put 155 yards on them, and on the flip side of that, the Jaguars offense, they were number 7 in rushing. Travis Etienne had 3 straight 100-yard plus rushing games. As a total for the Jaguars offense, 75 yards.
There you go.
The Chiefs defense, we talked about this before. You cannot count out a Spags defense early in the season because it takes a while to get that system going.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, I know it's the Jaguars and they're may not necessarily be an elite team at this point, but I'm hoping this is a trend that keeps continuing as we go further down these games.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think it will. I got confidence. I got optimism that it will go down. But I want to go back to the MVP vote. So they're saying there's the media heads. I guess we're part of that. I don't know. The media.
Hey, what? Let's claim ourselves. Can you claim yourself to be a media head? I don't know.
I claim you to be a media head,
and I claim me, and I claim you to be one. All right. And if you're listening to this, go ahead and claim it for us too. Say, hey, these guys are media heads.
They're saying that it's Mahomes front runner, and then Tua is right behind him.
Yeah.
Which I have a problem. Now Tua is having a great year.
Yeah,
but
he is.
Tua has also missed 2 games, 3 games, 2 games.
Yeah, at least
3 games. I think he plays because they lost 3 games, and so I know he started a game, but he didn't finish the game. Okay, and so he's missed 3 games to injury. So how can you be the MVP if you haven't finished 3 games?
Well, I guess the point to that is, are you still putting up the stats in the games that you have been playing? Because he still played the majority, and if he's going to play the rest of the season. But I will say this too, though. There's still a lot of season left.
A lot.
So a lot can happen in those games. But I will say this: did you notice the Bills lost again yesterday?
Man, I thought they were given the Super Bowl.
But they were.
I thought they already won the Super Bowl.
That's what they said. And if you recall, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. It's Nick something. One of those media heads that's a huge Chiefs fan. Oh, Nick Wright.
Nick Wright.
Yeah, Nick Wright. Remember, he said after that Bills game, he said, "Congratulations, Bills, you've won your Super Bowl."
Yeah,
so, and he said the last 2 years. Because
did you notice Josh Allen had the ball in overtime?
I did not see. I just saw the highlights.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't see the whole game or anything. I did see that he had an interception in the red zone, though.
In overtime. Imagine that. He had the ball in overtime. He didn't win the game. I thought for sure if Josh Allen was given the ball in overtime, he would win you the game.
That's what we were told. Maybe if he, I don't know, had a little bit stronger of an arm, maybe better coordination, maybe if he was on a different team, maybe he could do it. Or maybe you just need a Patrick Mahomes.
Maybe you just need Patrick Mahomes. Which, speaking of Patrick Mahomes, I don't know if you saw I know we both kind of rewatched the game because we had other responsibilities yesterday afternoon. Yeah. But in the broadcast, there was a crazy stat they threw up on the screen. And it said when Patrick Mahomes plays, sub 500 teams, he's 23-1 which is like, like, oh, well, he's supposed to be. Well, that's exactly right. He's supposed to beat those teams.
Yeah.
And so those are the teams he's supposed to beat. And then also, then they threw up a stat, which was crazy. I couldn't believe it. In Patrick Mahomes' career, in November and December, he's undefeated.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That is
because that's when you want to be playing your best football, and to be undefeated in those 2 months it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Well, it's November 14th. So are we not going to lose until?
I don't know. So
I mean, I don't want to jinx him. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we got a big game Sunday night, which we'll get to later this week. But my goodness, those stats are just insane.
Yep. Well, I'll say this. Our keys to win the game were to slow down NTN, which we did, get pressure on Lawrence, which we did.
Yeah.
And to both our points, too, we both all said we can't just come out and start fast or start slow. We have to play fast and play to our potential the entire game. And I think the Chiefs did that.
Yeah. Super boring game, but one of those games you will take.
It's boring because there's not much action. The Chiefs are winning by so much, but every once in a while, after some of these stressful games we've had, I need a game like that.
Yeah. But it's also crazy to think, like, he had, like, if you would have just watched, if you would have looked at the stats and the time of possession and kind of watched the game, you wouldn't have thought he would have had 331 yards passing, but he did. I mean, just a quiet 330 with 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns with 330 passing yards. And the Jaguars, to your point, had a longer time of possession than the Chiefs by about 3 minutes or so.
Well, they were looking like the old Chiefs where they were scoring in 3-5 plays. It was crazy.
Yeah. And, to the point of the broadcast, too, they were saying, they were supposed to be the team that didn't score anymore after Tyreek Hill, and here we are. I don't know about after this week, but going into this week, we were still the number 1 scoring defense, averaging over 30 points a game. Yeah. So, that could change a little bit. We didn't quite hit 30 yesterday, but the Chiefs don't seem to be slowing down. They still lead the league in 20-plus yard plays.
Yeah. And I don't know what but I enjoy Tony Romo and Jim Nance when they call a play. And so
I do
call a game. So
I do. Although I was watching it with Jill yesterday, and Jill didn't make a comment about Tony Romo, not knowing who it was because she's still learning football. She says, "Man, that guy sure does like to talk a lot, doesn't he?" There's no hate on Tony Romo. She has no idea who he is. It's just funny to hear that comment.
Yeah, just from a pure source, right?
That's right. Pure source.
There you go. So there you go. Jill Smith, everybody.
That's right. That's right.
Anything else stick out to you in the game?
Man, the only thing I would say is on our special teams, we got to clean some of that stuff up. Because you turned the ball over twice in special teams. One time was at the end of the first half when Fortson picked it up to run it back because it was just a squib kick and fumbled it, put him right in field goal range to start with, and luckily they missed it. First half, first play of the game, fumbled it basically right at midfield. And they didn't get any points off either of those, the Jaguars didn't, but you give that kind of field position to a really good team. I mean, you could easily say the Chiefs only win that game by 1 possession or less if the Jaguars are able to convert on some of those key things.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought the Chiefs played a pretty well-rounded game outside of special teams.
Outside special teams, and to win a playoff game, you got to win. You got to do both. You got to win all 3 phases of the game, or not to both, but you got to win all 3 phases.
Yeah,
I thought Trent McDuffie looked good.
Yeah, he did.
He made a couple plays. Yeah, and so I think that's encouraging. That here's our first round pick, making some plays, and so he's worth it. And then I thought, which has got to be like a headache for defensive coordinators right now, is who is Pat going to throw to?
Yeah.
Because again, he hit over 9 receivers, or 9 people caught a pass. And so
I think you're right.
And at least over 9. And so that's pretty crazy to think that 9 guys are on the field and catching passes. Usually it's like 4 or 5 maybe for like a high up, but usually it's like 3 to 5 guys that catch balls on a football team. And here he's throwing to 10 guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked at he completed passes to 9 different receivers. He attempted to 10, but only 9 caught. Yeah. So that's pretty good. only other thing I'll point out too is the Chiefs rushing game with Isaiah Pacheco. If they can continue to block and run like that, because remember, the Jaguars had the number 7 rushing defense in the NFL coming into this game. And the Chiefs were able to run I'm not saying that he had a huge breakout game, but compared to what we did the week before and the weeks prior, I'll take, Isaiah Pacheco rushing for the way he did because he had 82 yards rushing yesterday.
Come on. And McKinnon in the mix. One of our hot takes I remember strongly was Clyde would not be the starter.
Yep. So
and here we are, week 10.
You heard it here first. Maybe not first. There's some people who thought that too, but you heard a very strong point here on this podcast first that Clyde Edwards-Helaire would not be the starting running back after the bye week. And what do you know? After the bye week, he is not started. And
he didn't. Yesterday, he wasn't even on the field much.
No, he didn't. He got very few touches yesterday. So I think the Chiefs are kind of waving the flag on him and saying, "Okay, we've tried this particular position and person enough. We know what we have, and it's not what we thought."
Yeah.
So, and
do you think? Again, I know we talked, but do you think Mecole Hardman is this going to be like a gadget guy? They're going to just use in certain games where they think they have a matchup where they have that jet sweep and that quick tosses and stuff like that. I just don't know why they don't use him more like that. But I know there's only one ball, and there's a lot of guys that can make plays.
Yeah. Well, and yesterday he wasn't playing because he was injured.
Yeah.
So he was out that game. But I think the problem with Mecole Hardman, and once again, not hating on anybody, but when you throw him the deep ball, he's very inconsistent in catching.
Yeah.
And that is not something that's going to get you the ball thrown a lot when you're not able to catch it consistently. Now, I'm not saying you have to catch 100% because you don't. It's a game you're going to miss some, but you got to be able to be consistent, though. You have to be consistent. And
Noah Gray. Shout out to Noah Gray, man.
That guy. Yeah.
He's getting better and better every week.
He is. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon here, but if this progression continues, Travis Kelce's shelf life, as much as I want him to play for the next 30 years, is improbable.
Right.
He's probably got maybe 5 years at the most. I think he's 32 now, if I remember correctly. So he doesn't have that many years left. And so to have another young guy that is showing promise is a good sign.
Yes. Yeah. So awesome. Awesome win. We'll chalk it up. Week 10 of the NFL. Here we go.
That's right.
We'll see what I can't believe we only got 8 more weeks here of football.
And right now, if the season ends today, the Chiefs would be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. So Chiefs, hopefully you can keep this up. We're cheering for you on, and we have all faith that you can. As we look at the schedule we've talked for, I don't know who else they lose to.
Yeah, Sunday night.
I was about to say the only people that have me worried is the division games against the Raiders and the Chargers, because those two teams, no matter how good or bad they are, always play the Chiefs.
They always play well.
So we got 2 more games against one against each of those teams still. So we'll see how those come out. So thanks for joining us in this episode of the Kingdom Corner. Join us next time as we discuss a preview of the Chiefs and Chargers game on Sunday night. We'll see you next time.